it is very psychological for us to think and put ourselves in the situation in the midst and then see within our lives where we can relate with. God is still alive. What he did last time to one person doesn't mean that he will do the same thing for us. Statistically, if there's one occurrence, the probability of it repeating is there is a probability it can repeat. But that doesn't mean that it is applicable to everybody. It is going to repeat in everybody's life until until he sees an ajuboja. My son.
my son.
An ajuboja.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to TRK Discoveries on TRK Multimedia. My name is Ata Abafo Jamra. You can always call me the React. And of course, today we are here once again with Mr. Ajiman Bonsu, who has always been a very important figure in this episode. We've been trying to, study with you some of the things that are common around us, but it's sometimes very difficult for us to understand. Today, one psychological issue or one psychological problem that I think it's a problem to me is that even since the time that I was growing, we realized that when you go to church, I will use church example. So when we go to church and we read the Bible, some prophets did common miracles in the Bible based on certain directions that God gave them. And in view of that, we also think that when we do the same directions, we will get the same result, which is not. Another example I can give is that we tend to get sick. Then when you have malaria and you take 1, 2, 3 medications and you become healed, and your brother or sister or friend also get the same symptoms, not the same sickness, the same symptoms with headache, fever, chills, and so forth and so on. You may think that it's also malaria, so you will prescribe. That is what we call self-medication or self-prescription. You will prescribe the same medication for that fellow to try it. But when he tries and doesn't work, the person becomes disappointed. I don't know what your problem has been, how you understand that issue has been. Today we are here with Mr. Ajiman Bonsu, the author of the Meditations of Christian Saints, to discuss such very important topic. Mr. Ajiman, you're welcome.
Thank you, TRK.
All right. So if you can bear with me, this has been my issue, my problem, that most people, especially because I will talk from the field of health, because I was trained as a nurse. Most of the problem that we used to face was the fact that many people take self-medication, self-prescription of certain medications. So meanwhile, this medicine, because he was having headache, because he was having chills, because he was coughing, and these things, when he took the medication, he became well. But maybe yours is a malaria, maybe his was a typhoid fever or different issue. How do we relate to Christian faith when it comes to the Bible? There are so many miracles that the prophets performed, not by their own understanding, but by the directions, based on the period, based on the circumstances, based on whatever God wanted them to, whatever message that God wanted them to carry on. They performed that miracle, thinking that when you use the same directions, you may get the same results. So if the pastors give to the fellow members or give to the church members and they don't get the same results, they become disappointed in Christian fellowship. So I'm taking this from your book. It's on meditation number 10. It says that, I want to read so that I will be clear of what I'm saying. It says, be careful not to make a universal law based on a singular occurrence or your interpretation of scriptures. How do you explain this to us?
Again, thank you, TRK, and thank you to our viewers. And it's always a pleasure coming your way. If you're not subscribed yet, please do so. Share and also comment. We'd love to hear from you over the time that we've been with you. Yes, TRK, is true. As you said it initially, that we do have people that tend to do self-medication because even some even take the medication prescribed to other family members, thinking that because they told them about their symptoms, perhaps they are also having the same kind of
Symptoms.
sickness, and without any diagnosis, without any medical examination or any lab work, they just take the medicine. And that is what the kind of meditation is warning about, that people need to be very careful when it comes to interpreting scriptures, interpreting circumstances, one occurrences in life, and making a generalization or universalizing issues or laws, making laws. And what we mean by law is something when you say is kind of repeatable and is kind of existing beyond time, in time and beyond time. That is a law. So yes, this meditation is key in us realizing that not everything, every instruction that is for one man is for us all. And it looks like a psychological thing with us, that a story of another man, especially when you're reading scriptures, when you're reading the stories, and you feel you're reading and you have empathy, you put your feet in their shoes. It is very psychological for us to think and put ourselves in the situation in the midst, and then see within our lives where we can relate with. And in that so, we've had so many people making laws based on a single thing that God did in the Bible and then applying it to everybody. And that is what the meditation is warning people about.
Okay, so taking it for example, a pastor who undertake maybe a 40-day fasting per a direction that God gave him, and he, after the 40 days fasting, whatever miracle that God wanted him to perform, he performed it. And another pastor taking because this pastor did 40-day fasting, if I also do the same 40-day fasting, or if I ask my church members, or even that particular pastor will say that, because God asked me to do this, I will tell my members to do the same thing to get the same miracle.
Yes, it happens a lot. I mean, there are so many young and upcoming uh, kind of evangelists, pastors that take this initiative and reading the Bible because they read the Bible. Jesus starting his ministry happened to do a 40-day fasting. So they go into fasting thinking that since Jesus did it that way, they also have to do it that way. And there are stories of people going into the mountains to pray, hoping that they will see or hear the voice of God, and something happened to them. And then those that have had health issues because they took this instruction or this occurrence in the Bible, which could be specific to one person, and then applying it to their life. Instead of actually listening to God and having a personalized kind of, God is still alive. What he did last time to one person doesn't mean that he will do the same thing for us. And that is one thing that, as I said, psychological, because it is something if you don't train yourself, get to know about this issue, you fall kind of, I wouldn't say a victim, but you fall short to life in so many areas of your life, looking at people kind of copycatting. You're living a life of copycatting, right? Because statistically, if there's one occurrence, the probability of it repeating is there is a probability it can repeat. But that doesn't mean that it is applicable to everybody. It is going to repeat in everybody's life. So the fact that maybe somebody did this way, he got success, although it can repeat, it doesn't mean that it can repeat with you. Right? We can't just say that it can never repeat in life. There's nothing like never in life. But you can also conclude that because there is a probability, a chance that it can repeat with you. Right? It's just like we all know the Powerball, somebody will win it. But the probability that we all will win it is impossible, right? Almost impossible. But at least we know somebody. That doesn't mean you are always putting your money there because you know you're gonna win it, right? It's just the same thing we are trying to say here, that we have to be very careful that what happens in one man's life, what we are reading in the scriptures as an instruction to somebody, God dealings with somebody, doesn't necessarily mean that God is dealing the same way with you, right? That you have to mimic and do the same thing before God. Like one says, Moses went to the bush, he heard God speaking through fire, so he's going to go in the bush and pray and meet God in bushfire until until he sees Anajuboja. My son.
my son.
Anajuboja.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, in life is serious. I mean, there are so many people that have done that in life, and I mean, I wouldn't say
It's
so much of
affected them badly.
so
I mean,
much, yeah,
I
affected
heard,
their lives.
I've heard some even died, pregnant women
Yeah,
dying, and
yeah.
people getting ulcer and those kind of things. So, what do you think might be the cause of this? Is it the same as survivor? Because everybody want to survive, so we move towards the direction of the wind, or say no BIA. So let's also do the same thing and
When it comes to, I mean, individuals interpreting it is different, but when you have leaders, right, interpreting it, because people kind of take their words for God's word, and it can become misleading if you, as a leader of a group leading the children of God, and you interpret the word in your understanding, in your way that you deem right, how you feel and know it to be, and instead of maybe explaining it that this is how you understand it, but you speak in the order and power of God, like God says, this is what God is telling me when I read it, then there's gonna be an issue, right? But nevertheless, as the Bible says, who am I to judge the servant of another man, right? If his followers are with him and they follow what he's saying, who am I to go to correct him or to say, hey, that interpretation that you have of scriptures is not necessarily true? Because it can be true, doesn't mean that it is always true. That is the whole thing.
And let me bring you to recent MPP primaries that they held between Kennedy Japan and Dr. Baumia. And a lot of pastors give prophecies. I don't know whether it's predictions or prophecies. Some going to the direction of Baumia, some also going to the direction of. But when one thing that I believe is that God can speak, right? But humans can just squeeze the hands of those who are in those who are supposed to have it. And into that, in Pinufo, say, Yami and Susa for hene. That's a corporate who kofa hincheswa obi ensumo. You can manipulate the way you want. Anyway, I'm not saying that they manipulated. No, it's just an example that I'm giving. You can manipulate the way you want, but if God, the hand of God is not in it, do you think you can succeed, or your kingdom can be somewhat to prove that this is not the chosen one?
And that would depend on individuals setting aside of it, right? Because people that when a man has a people, sometimes it's difficult for the people to see the wrong side. Even if they see it, they can put a blind eye to it. So they heard him say that so and so will win. He didn't win. The people, he has another thing to tell them, and the people will just listen to him.
Exactly.
But you that is outside his people, you can find out that no, this is wrong. But
This is wrong. Okay.
yeah, and that is how it is. There are people that commit to others, and you standing outside can tell that this is wrong, but the people themselves would not really see it as such, and will still, I mean, no matter how many times he will fail in prophecy, they will still listen to him and still find him as their leader.
So, what will it take for us to come back to our consciousness that this is not how it's supposed to be done? For example, like one person taking medication and you thinking that because this medication worked for him, it would definitely work for me. What will happen for us to stop thinking like that?
It should be education, and this is the reason why the meditation is for anybody that is reading it, right? When you read it and then you meditate on this meditation, that you are careful, that you are not interpreting life as a universal thing because of what you're seeing, right? So if you're reading this meditation, it informs you, it allows you to pause and then also reflect on how you see things and on how you perceive and interpret life circumstances. So that's the most important thing that I believe. Most of the time, the problem is we tend to assume that people should know. And sometimes myself, my kids, as they are growing, there are, because they are different ages, I tend to consider them all in my mind in some relation as, oh, like the 7-year-old, why didn't you do this? Because I'm assuming he's older than the two, and if he's doing the same thing as the two, he must know, right? That is an assumption we carry around, and it's kind of a way that I'm not sure how to put it, in a sense that it benefits the system, because when you meet somebody, you kind of outwardly assume that he's an adult, he's responsible, and then he's accountable, right? You are not thinking, especially if you are not trained to assess individuals as you meet them. You're not thinking that, oh, this person, I have to beware, I have to this, like he can harm me. You approach people on a plane of individuals, giving respect, giving kind of you are taking individuals as a good person. You are not outwardly in your mind thinking an evil, that he is an evil person, right? It is the same thing here. That most of the times when we see people, we don't have the time to do the assessment. They say first impression, right? To really know which level the person is, but we assume that people know. But in one of the meditation in the book, it says that you can reap from a man what is not planted within them, right? So some of these things we assume that, oh, because he's a man of God, he should know. Because he's a doctor, he should know. Because he's an adult, he should know.
Okay.
But throughout his life, nobody has ever spoken these words to the person that, hey, be careful wherever you are making generalization or universalizing issues and circumstances in life. So I believe this is one way of putting it out there for people to know that, no, in everything you need to get a fact. In everything you need to also listen. In everything you need to listen, as I mean, listen to your inner man, and then also make decisions based on what you have from your inner man and based on what you have physically. The two is where you are getting your source of making the right decision in life.
So those ones that, let me take you back to the scriptures. Those ones that happened, those miracles, those instructions that God gave to the prophets in the what do you call it, in the Bible, in the scriptures, was it something that was one time, or it was something that was meant for all of us? Let's take, for example, if Jesus was talking to the disciples who were the apostles, that at that time I wasn't there. So if I don't know what exactly the scripture says, they go into the world and preach the gospel. Someone made an assumption that he was talking to the disciples alone, the 12 apostles, not us. And someone will also say he was declaring it to all of us. Can we use that? If he was not talking to us, then the miracles that the apostle also performed was not meant for us. So if, for example, that he was saying that, okay, this is an instruction, go into the world, preach the gospel. And all of us have to obey that instructions. So was it something one time, or there could be a circumstances, an instance that is, okay, this one is generalized to all of us, and this one is directing it to a particular group of people?
That's a very good question. I mean, this is a clear um, incident related to a people, not an individual thing, right? You're looking at a church. He's speaking to the church. He's speaking to a group that, yes, go into the world and then preach the word. And we know that, how would others know of the word? How would people know of the gospel unless somebody is sent to them? So by this, we know that this message is not just for the apostles. This is a command, right? A command, and this is a command from God. So that is quite different from an incident like Gideon trying to say, God, show me a sign. So you're reading Gideon, show me a sign. Gideon proposing to God to show him a sign before he makes a move. So you also challenge God. God, show me a sign. Right? It is not going to be applicable to everybody.
Okay.
That he put a fleece outside and he says, if by morning or by the next day, if there's water only on this fleece and around it the land is all dry, then God, you are in it. And if I come and then it's the otherwise, then it's like a no-go to walk. So when he came, there was water on the fleece and then the land was dry. And he was still not convinced, and he told God that, God, I'm going in, just do the opposite. If that happens, if I come and there's water around the fleece and fleece is dry, then I'm good to go. So you too in your life, there's the circumstances, there's something you need to pray about, something you need to make decisions, you make a move. You also put a fleece outside. God, put water on it. It's not applicable, right? And as I said, the fact that something can repeat doesn't mean it's a universal thing. And sometimes too, maybe you may do it, something may happen. It doesn't mean you should tell others that because I did it this way, work for me, you too do it this way. There is a way you can suggest to people to try. But the way we make it, as I said, law, they make it as a law. Like if you don't do it this way, you are not going to succeed in life. If you don't do it in this way, if you have done this in your past, that means God is going to send you to hell, or God is going to kill you. No, right? That is, you can't make a law. I mean, maybe people, the understanding of the word law is maybe where it's lacking, because a universal law is a serious thing. It's not just maybe, oh, I did this, it worked for me, so you too can try. That means you give the person room to think about it, to see, okay, I will do it or not do it. But if you tell him that, hey, you must try it because this is how it's gonna work, there's no way around it. You're either putting fear into the person to do so, you're either coercing the person to do so, or you are kind of forcing the person to do so. And we know if the person deems you as a person of authority, then he's going to follow you what you're saying and thinking it's God's way, meanwhile it's just your interpretation.
I heard a story where someone said he was looking for a wife, and he prayed that God should give him a sign, just like Gideon said. You want, when you come to church and this lady is wearing red, it means she's the one that you're giving me. And in fact, that lady's color was blue, but coincidentally, that Sunday she wore red. I don't know whether she was just hiding there listening to the guy's prayers or whatever. She wore red, and the guy decided to go in for her and marry her. After 2-3 months of the marriage, they started having problems. And I'm not saying that if you have problems in your marriage, it means you are not compatible. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that probably he was looking for a wrong sign, because just like you said, what happened to Gideon might not happen to you. And wearing colors, it's the person's choice. So if coincidentally the person come and is wearing me, if you come and you said, God, I'm looking for someone that I want, but I want a 6-pack pants. I mean, I have 1 pack. And I wear blue that day, and you think that I'm wearing blue, I'm the one. No, I'm have 1 pack. You are looking for 6-pack. Go in for 6-pack. So these things happens to Christian of today, or you think that they are over exaggerating the miracle that happens in the Bible and just relate it to their lives of today.
So what you said raised a very important point I want to make. So as I said, that there is a possibility of repetition, but it doesn't make a law. Right? That means it is possible that occurrences in the past can reoccur. That is a universal thing. We all know that something that has happened can happen again. There is no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that it is God that has done it, right? Because something that has happened is history is bound to repeat itself. So the fact that history repeated for you doesn't necessarily mean that God did it. It's just history in the cycles of occurrence and reality happening. But what I want to emphasize, especially when you mention somebody using the color to marry, so in faith, in religion, there is this that faith is able to do. So although it is not a law, so if I remember growing up when it comes to like the traditional religion, there was this young boy that told me of a story like when we were growing up in school, primary school. So he said the father was a chief priest. And what the chief priests, they kill chicken and then they do all those sacrifices when people come. He sees the father doing all that. And then people come and he do all those blood sacrifice and the people go, he cuts the chicken, then he put the blood on this on the altar and then he do the incantation and then the people go. So one day he picked the rock and they're going to do the same thing that the father has been doing. So he catch a hen in the house, he killed the animal and put the blood on the stone and begin to do the incantation that the father do. The stone kind of levitated, it lifted up in the sky. So the father happened to be coming by. So as soon as he came, he saw it, he said some incantation, and then the stone just fell on the floor. He picked it up and he warned the kid. So I'm saying this to say and emphasize on the same principle when Jesus, in some miracle situations, required the faith of individuals to happen. And that I say, the God within us. If you heard me say this before, that we have God, which is the Father of all things, the Lord, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of all. And then there's God, which is within us, which is His essence, His Spirit that is within us. So with that power that is within us, that makes us to do, as the scriptures say, we can do all things through Christ which strengthens us. So with that power within, by the faith of a man, we can call something to happen. That is not necessarily that God that is outside came and because you believe this to happen and he came and he did it for you. It is faith. Faith in itself is power. It's power that individual in his mind, in his consciousness has perceived and conceived that happening so much so that when he went outside, he found it to be just as he has perceived it. Right? So in that sense, it has happened for him, just as maybe it happened for Gideon. But that doesn't mean, as I said, that it will happen for everybody if you do it that way. Yeah. So we acknowledge the probability of repetition of history, but that doesn't mean that it happens to everybody or it repeats across all lives or across all the universe. It's never like that. That God used Moses and a rod to split the ocean. Let us see how many men of God and prophets can split the
today.
ocean, do the same thing, right? Because God did it. You think
You can do it.
anytime you stand before waters, you can also hold a rod and then split it. It is something that happens, maybe individualized, but as I also say, we can overrule repetition and then faith, right? Faith is very important because the Bible even said there were times when even Jesus, they didn't believe in his own hometown. They didn't believe him so much so that he couldn't even perform any miracle.
Okay.
Yeah. So faith is very important in all ways of our life, in bringing things to be which are not, like things which are not, if you want it to happen. And I just want to add that when it comes to faith, the principle and the law of faith, it's not just for Christians. We apply it even sometimes without knowing, right? We apply it even sometimes, like a farmer put a seed in the ground, he has faith it will come out. There's no way he goes in there and dig it out and see if it sprout, dig it out, then he put it back. No, he got faith, right? So many people put their money in the stock exchange. They got faith it will come out, but because it's not maybe associated with church, you may think, oh, this is not faith.
Mm.
Because he's not praying, you may think it is not faith.
Mm.
The woman that touched the hem of Jesus Christ, he didn't pray to Jesus that Jesus, please heal me, God heal me. He just had to touch the hem with faith. So faith is a law, is a power that you can cause things to happen in your way, looking at what happened to somebody, you looking at it and then applying it in your life with faith mixed together and cause it to happen. But what the meditation is saying is that we shouldn't make laws, right? You shouldn't generalize. Yeah, even if it happens to you, you shouldn't make it a law for others that because it happened to me this way, hey, you ought to do it this way, or you must do it this way in life. And we see people in authority and power rather make it the law than we will. But I will not stand in a church and tell anybody that, hey, you got to do it this way. But perhaps you may hear a person in authority trying to make a law. And sometimes too, we have the same thing sometimes may happen in professional circles, because you do it this way all the time, you got to do it this way to work, right? To me, it doesn't happen that way, especially when it comes to reading scriptures.
Before I allow you to go, if you have just a word or two for those who are watching us out there, because this has been put this as psychological challenges. Because maybe if I say problem, someone will think differently. Challenges to all of us, especially when it comes to the medical field, especially when it comes to the church, the prophecies and the miracles in the church. So if you can have a word or two so that all of us can take cautions of our dealing with medication, with prophecies, with miracles, with certain people's, success and failures, thinking that, oh, he did it this way, he failed. So if I do it this way, I will fail. He did it this way, I succeeded. He succeeded. If I also do this way, I'll succeed. So if you do it that way and you don't succeed, you may think, oh, other people will go for him. Why did you? Oh, yeah, a whole lot of things. God has a way of calling everybody. I told you, I mean, I started as an Greek student. I studied nursing, but I love journalism. I worked towards it. I know that I don't have journalism certification, so no one will employ me. And I made my own journalist. I sat in my room and I bought my things and I started. And by the grace of God, he brought people like you to me, and now I'm a journalist. Do you understand what I mean? So if you can have a word or two to those who are watching us out there.
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity. Because yes, I don't know what individual you're going through, but I just want you to know God is sovereign, and what He did in the past doesn't limit Him from doing something different and wonderful with you, because you're in a different timeline. You are also in a different place. In a time such as this, with technology around us, God is not going to use old kind of technology, old kind of ways and methods because you read in the Bible. So that's the same way God is going to do with you. God is going to punish you. God is going to send you to hell. God is going to do all these things to you. It is never so. God deals with us separately. God deals with us as one in a church in Christ Jesus, but He deals with us individually. So God has a way with you. No matter what is going on around you with some other people, don't compare yourself with them. Stick to your ways and in God, and the ways that God has called you can be different from others. So may Lord lead you, and have faith, and faith will make a way for you, and by faith God will also reach you.
Have faith, and faith will make a way for you, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what you think. I don't know what your experiences has been. I think this is a very good opportunity for us to learn that what exactly happened to this person. It might happen. It might work for you though, but not all. So if it happened to this person, and it doesn't happen to you, don't say differently. Drop your comment at the comment section. Tell us what you think about this topic, and tell us what you also think about the discussion. Maybe you can add your voice to it. My name is Ata Bafu Jambra. You can call me the Rayakin. Today I was fortunate to have here with me Mr. Ajiman Bosu, who has always been a blessing to this very channel. if today happened to be the first time that you are watching us, if not subscribed to us, please subscribe to the channel and share. Until we meet again another time on the same episode, God bless you and enjoy the rest of your week. I love you, so love me the same. Bye-bye.